Tracking the beast. To truly understand the mystery of the structure beneath the Caspian Sea, we have to travel back in time. The satellite images from 2023 are just the latest chapter in a very long book. This is not a new phenomenon. The Kumani Bank has been haunting these waters for generations. It is a serial offender, a geological ghost that refuses to stay dead. Let's look at the data. We have reliable records of at least 8 major eruptions from this specific volcano before the 2023 event. That is a pattern. That is a heartbeat. The first recorded eruption was way back in May of 1861. Think about the world back then. The American Civil War was just starting. There were no satellites, no planes, no internet. Communication was slow. In 1861, sailors reported a disturbance in the water. An island formed. It was small compared to the modern ones, only about 285 feet across. It stood about 11 feet above the waves. To the sailors, this was baffling. They marked it on their charts. But imagine the confusion when they came back a year later in 1862 and the island was gone. It had simply erased itself. For decades, these stories were treated like folklore. Sailors are known for telling tall tales, right? Sea monsters, mermaids, phantom islands. But the Kumani Bank kept proving them right. It kept coming back. The most significant event in the 20th century happened in 1950. This was the heavyweight champion of eruptions. The island that formed was massive. It measured nearly 2,300 feet across. That is huge. That is almost half a mile. Imagine a piece of land that big just popping up out of the ocean. It stood 20 feet high. If you were standing on the shore, you might have been able to see it with a telescope. The 1950 eruption was likely the one that really caught the attention of the Soviet military. Remember, the Caspian Sea was Soviet territory at the time. A new island appearing in their inland sea was a matter of national security. They sent ships to investigate. They found a desolate landscape of gray mud, smelling of sulfur and gas. It was not a strategic asset. It was a mess. But the size of the 1950 island tells us something scary. It tells us that the volcano has the potential to go big. The 2023 eruption was large at 1,300 feet, but it was only about half the size of the 1950 event. This means the Kumani Bank is capable of much more than we have seen recently. It is holding back. Geologists have studied the intervals between these eruptions. They are irregular. Sometimes it waits 10 years. Sometimes it waits 50. This unpredictability is the problem. You cannot set a clock to it. It is like a dormant beast that wakes up whenever it feels grumpy. And when it wakes up, it changes the map. The erosion process is also fascinating. In 1950, the island was huge, but even an island that big could not fight the Caspian Sea. The waves in this region can be rough. They chipped away at the soft mud. Day by day, the island shrank. It is a war between the earth building up and the water tearing down. The water always wins in the end. This historical context proves that the structure seen on the Cold War photos was almost certainly one of these ephemeral islands. The spies were seeing the aftermath of an eruption. They were seeing the ghost. But what is interesting is that they did not know what it was at first. The declassified reports show confusion. They considered everything from secret submarine docks to crashed UFOs. The truth was far more grounded but no less dramatic. The Kumani Bank is just one of many. Azerbaijan has the highest concentration of mud volcanoes in the world. There are over 300 of them in the region. Some are on land and some are underwater. The ones on land are tourist attractions. People go to see them bubble and burp. But the ones underwater, like Kumani, are the dangerous ones. Because they are underwater, we often miss the start of the eruption. Unless a satellite happens to be looking or a ship happens to be nearby, the event might go unnoticed until the island breaks the surface. This means there could have been dozens of smaller eruptions over the last century that we missed completely. The ghost might be visiting a lot more often than we think. The recurrence of these islands raises a question. Is the structure getting bigger underground? Each eruption brings up tons of material. Does this mean the seabed is rising? Is a permanent island eventually going to form? Some geologists think that if the eruptions happen frequently enough, the mud might pile up faster than the sea can wash it away. We might see the birth of a permanent new landmass in our lifetime. But for now, the Kumani Bank remains a temporary visitor. It is a reminder of the dynamic nature of our planet. Nothing is static. Even the ground beneath our feet is moving, shifting, and sometimes exploding. The history of this volcano is a history of violence and silence. It screams and then it hides. But why here? Why is this specific spot in the Caspian Sea so active? To answer that, we have to look deeper. We have to look at the massive stone plates that float on the surface of our world. They are crashing into each other and the Caspian Sea is caught in the middle of the fight. The ground is being squeezed until it pops. Why it happens. So, why does the Caspian Sea behave like a pot of boiling soup? Why are there structures appearing and disappearing? It is not magic, it is mechanics, specifically plate tectonics. The Earth is like a giant jigsaw puzzle, but the pieces are moving and they are heavy. Azerbaijan and the Caspian Sea are sitting right in the middle of a slow-motion car crash between giant continents. Here is the deal. The Arabian tectonic plate is moving north, it is pushing upwards. At the same time, the Eurasian plate is sitting there blocking the way. The Caspian Sea is caught in the convergence zone. It is being squeezed. Imagine holding a tube of toothpaste and squeezing it from the bottom. The toothpaste has to go somewhere. Usually it goes up and out of the cap. In this analogy, the toothpaste is the mud, gas, and water deep underground. The cap is the mud volcano. The squeezing hand is the Arabian plate crashing into the Eurasian plate. The pressure generated by this collision is unimaginable. It folds the rock layers. It creates mountains. The Caucasus Mountains nearby are a result of this same collision. But under the sea, the rock layers are soft and filled with fluids. When the pressure gets too high, the fluids are forced upward. They migrate through cracks and faults in the rock. As they rise, they mix with the sediment, the dirt and clay, turning it into a thick slurry. This is the mud. It is cold, thick, and heavy. But remember the gas, the methane? That is expanding as it rises. It pushes the mud faster and faster. By the time this mixture reaches the seabed, it is moving with incredible force. It punches through the bottom of the ocean and keeps going. If there is enough material, it piles up until it breaks the water's surface, creating the island. This tectonic war is constant. The plates move about an inch or so every year. That does not sound like much, but over millions of years it changes the face of the planet. And it ensures that the pressure cooker underneath the Caspian is always on. It never turns off. This is why the Kumani Bank will keep erupting. It is why the ghost will keep coming back. As long as the plates are moving, the mud will flow. The sediment in this region is also special. It is very young geologically speaking. It was deposited quickly by ancient rivers. This means it is not fully turned to stone yet. It is still soft and pliable. It is perfect for making mud volcanoes. If the ground were solid granite, the gas might just leak out slowly. But because it is soft sediment, the gas can push the whole mess upward. Scientists call this sedimentary volcanism. It is a fancy term for rocks behaving like fluids. It is weird science. Usually rocks break or bend. Here they flow. It blurs the line between solid and liquid. The unique combination of rapid sedimentation, lots of dirt piling up, and tectonic compression, the squeezing, is rare. That is why Azerbaijan is the capital of mud volcanoes. Nowhere else on Earth has this perfect storm of geological conditions. It is a freak of nature. And this squeezing does not just create islands, it creates earthquakes. The South Caspian Basin is seismically active. The earthquakes and the mud volcanoes are cousins. They are both symptoms of the same disease, tectonic stress. Sometimes an earthquake can shake the ground enough to trigger a mud volcano eruption. It is like shaking a soda can before opening it. So, the mystery structure is really a symptom of a planetary battle. The Caspian Sea is just the battlefield. The satellite photos are showing us the scars of this battle. Every time a new island pops up, it is the Earth releasing tension. It is a safety valve. If that pressure did not release through mud volcanoes, it might release through massive, devastating earthquakes instead. In a way, these weird islands are protecting the region from something worse. But the science of mud volcanoes goes beyond our planet. What we see in the Caspian Sea might be the key to finding life on other worlds. Because believe it or not, there are structures that look exactly like the Kumani bank on the surface of Mars. The red planet has its own secrets. Interplanetary geology. This is where things get really wild. We started with Cold War spies and phantom islands, but now we are going to space. The strange behavior of the Kumani bank has caught the attention of planetary scientists. Why? Because when they look at the northern lowlands of Mars, they see the same thing. Mars is covered in mounds and structures that look suspiciously like the mud volcanoes in the Caspian Sea. For a long time, we thought Mars was dead, a dry, dusty rock. But these features suggest that Mars might have a wet, active underground. If the mounds on Mars are indeed mud volcanoes, it means there was, or is, fluid flowing beneath the surface. Mark Tingay, the geologist who studied the Kumani Bank, pointed this out. He called them weird and wonderful features. And he noted that scientists think the muddy mounds on Mars form the same way, gas-rich sediments spewing out to the surface. This is a total game changer. Why? Because on Earth, mud volcanoes spew out methane. Methane is an organic molecule. It can be produced by geological processes, yes, but it is also the signature of life. Bacteria produce methane. If Mars has mud volcanoes pumping methane onto the surface, it raises the massive question, is there life in the mud? Studying the Kumani Bank helps NASA understand Mars. By watching how the island forms, how it erodes, and what the mud is made of, they can interpret the images from the Mars rovers better. The Caspian Sea is a laboratory for the red planet. It is a terrestrial analog. Imagine a rover driving up to one of those mounds on Mars. It drills into the sediment. It finds the same slurry that created the island off the coast of Azerbaijan. And inside that slurry, it finds fossilized microbes. That is the dream scenario. And it all starts with understanding the structure our satellites found here on Earth. The shapes are identical. The way the mud flows is identical. The only difference is that on Earth, the mud volcano is fighting the ocean. On Mars, it is fighting the thin atmosphere and the freezing cold. But the mechanism is the same: pressure, fluid, eruption. This connection makes the Kumani Bank much more than just a navigational hazard. It is a cosmic clue. It connects the deep history of Earth to the deep history of our neighbor. It suggests that the processes shaping our world are universal. So, would you dare to sail across the Caspian knowing an island could erupt beneath you? Or do you think there's still something the governments aren't telling us about these mud structures? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this mystery, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown.